A story a week, the mind's masterpiece, a work of art from heart to heart. Tales of wonder, wonder she inspires. Upon her canvas, worlds are built, hearts are healed, hopes restored, dreams revealed, puzzles solved, faiths take flight, good works are born. A story a week. Sit back and relish this week's story. In the spotlight. I'll close with this excerpt as take home for you all. The poem epitomizes fortitude and tenacity, a fitting summation of my talk. MiGi's voice resonated across the hall, filled with purpose and strength. She held her book delicately in her hands, her gaze sweeping over the sea of faces as she recited the final poem. Just like the rippling river, so do we march on forever, exploring the beauty of creation that lies in corners untouched. The smoke from the chimney, a fleeting threat on our journey, but the rhythm of chirping birds indicated we trod the narrow path. For there is much to discover, we courageously ride together with illuminated minds, aiming to achieve our goals. As she finished, the hall erupted in appreciation. Their applause swelled and surged like waves breaking on the shore. The audience leaped to their feet, delivering a 3-minute standing ovation. MiGi stood on stage, smiling heartily, overwhelmed by the emotion of it all. She closed her book, lifted her head, and nodded in deep gratitude. Her smile, a reflection of her journey, the pain, the perseverance, the triumph. Her husband met her halfway as she was walking down from the stage. He pulled her into his arms, and as they embraced, he whispered, "The rhythm of chirping birds, nay, the applause of today, indicates we trod the narrow path successfully," putting his own spin to the poem she had just read to the audience. He couldn't be any prouder of her breakthrough. They broke their embrace as some members of the book club were already milling around them, hoping to have a word or two with MiGi. People filed up to her for a warm handshake and some congratulatory words. It was the moment she had dreamt of, but it was even more meaningful than she had imagined. The book club had extended a book reading invitation to MiGi after one of their members read her book and recommended it to the coordinator. The club coordinator had read and loved it so much that she had included the poetry anthology in their reading list. And that was how the club had ended up asking MiGi to honor them with a reading session. There was one man among the people queuing up to greet MiGi. He appeared reticent, but at the same time eager to have a conversation with her. His eyes shimmered with unshed tears as he shook her hand. "Your words touched me deeply," he began, his voice shaky yet determined. "My brother, he's battling a terrible ailment, and it's taken a toll on all of us in the family. We've been trapped in this cloud of despair. But when you spoke today, I caught a gleam of hope. It's like a flicker of light I can take back to my family to guide us through the darkness." MiGi smiled, her eyes softening. His words filled her with a sense of purpose and attainment that transcended applause and accolades. This was why she spoke, to inspire hope, to be a beacon. "Thank you for sharing that with me," she replied sincerely. "Remember, we will always tread the narrow path despite the fog. Hold on to that gleam of hope. It is the light needed to discover the yet uncovered beauty in life." The man nodded, a sense of resolve settling over him as he squeezed her hand one last time. Yet, as MiGi basked in the warmth of the crowd, her mind drifted to the journey that led her here. The standing ovation felt surreal, but she had earned it. Yes, she had earned it, not merely by sheer talent, but as the poster child of success, forged in the crucible of perseverance and molded by the trials and failures that shaped her journey. Her thoughts traveled back to earlier days on stage, the time she had faltered. Her first 3 talks were failures. She briefly grimaced as the pangs of those disappointing shows came back to her memory. For a while, she felt a constriction in her chest. Words had always been her passion, but delivering them, that was another challenge. Her fascination with language didn't automatically translate to confident speaking, and it showed. Those early audiences were polite. They did not boo her off the stage, but their energy had been lukewarm, the applause tepid. There is a feeling one has when they've done well. She knew that feeling and expected to have it, but she had not felt it. MiGi had returned home after one talk, disheartened, questioning if she was cut out for this after all. Yet something inside her refused to give up. She knew she had a message to share, a purpose greater than her fears and shortcomings. She had to hone her craft. So she found an audience in the woods. Day after day, she would venture to the towering trees, practicing her talks and her poems. At first, it felt ridiculous to speak to the inanimate. But in time, she began to see the swaying branches as nods of approval, the rustling leaves as murmurs of encouragement. She would rehearse endlessly, perfecting her poses, her tone, and her gestures. One session stood out in her memory. The day the trees swayed more wildly than usual, the wind stirring their branches in a way that felt almost alive. MiGi stopped mid-sentence, staring at the trees in awe. It was as though nature itself was applauding her. The leaves quivered, and she could feel their energy vibrating through the air. In that moment, she knew that her tongue had been loosened. She was ready not just for a comeback, but to scale all the walls and sprint over every hurdle in her path to success. Months of rehearsal and stepping into discomfort had led her to find her voice, the voice that would carry her to stages like this one, where her words could move people, ignite hope, and change lives. Now, here she stood, facing a queue of people touched by her words, those who saw her not just as a speaker, but as a guide through their own darkness. Her heart swelled with gratitude, not for the applause, but for the journey that had led her here. The failed attempts, the quiet rehearsals in the woods, the whispers of self-doubt, everything had been necessary. All had contributed to this moment of triumph. As she cast one last glance at the crowd, MiGi knew one thing for sure. She was no longer the woman who once doubted her own voice. She was a speaker, a storyteller, and most importantly, a warrior of faith. Henceforth, every word she would speak was not only the words of a motivational speaker, but they were also a living testament of her visions and her dreams. MiGi and her husband returned to their hotel room, where they freshened up in preparation for an evening celebration. Earlier, he had planned a dinner in her honor, regardless of the outcome of her talk. While she had held on to hope, he recognized that her optimism was cautious at best. To him, her unwavering efforts, dedication, and progress toward living her dream were worth celebrating no matter the result. He understood deeply that what his wife needed most was encouragement for the road still ahead. The evening was fresh, calm, and perfect for the occasion. MiGi walked into the suite's living room where her husband awaited, elegantly dressed in a fitted burgundy dress that shimmered slightly under the light, its rich color enhancing her radiance. Her husband's eyes lit up with admiration as he saw her. He wore her favorite suit color too, a gold suit paired with warm beige shirt and matching gold tie. Standing up, he embraced her, sealing his admiration with a soft kiss. MiGi giggled at the pink stain left on her husband's lips. She playfully wiped it away with a napkin from the bedside table before they strolled out the door, hand in hand. They arrived at a rooftop restaurant that took MiGi's breath away. The panoramic view of the city below shimmered in the evening light, while candlelit tables and delicate floral arrangements created a serene, magical atmosphere. Her eyes danced among the stars above, marveling at how her husband had found such a beautiful spot in a city they had never visited before. "When did you even have time to find this place?" she asked in awe. Smiling, he pulled out her chair and leaned down to whisper, "My beautiful lady deserves a beautiful treat in a beautiful environment." He kissed her cheek and sat down across from her. They perused the menu, selecting dishes, but the conversation quickly turned back to her talk that morning. MiGi felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The dinner wasn't just about the event. It reflected how far she had gone and how their lives had intertwined to support her dreams. Her husband broke the silence with a warm smile and sparkling eyes. "About your talk earlier today," he began, pride lacing his tone. "You did it, MiGi. You really nailed it. Your words dug deep into the hearts of your listeners. You could feel the impact in the room. It wasn't just a talk, it was an experience." He raised his glass slightly. "How do you feel?" he asked. MiGi took a deep breath, her eyes drifting to the horizon. "Elated," she said softly, "and impressed. To see that dreams don't just have to remain dreams, they can actually come alive. It's like watching something intangible become real. And when that dream touches other people's lives, it's even more satisfying." Her gaze met his. "Now, give me your usual feedback. You know I always want to know my strengths and weaknesses so I can improve for the next one." She laughed lightly. "Of course, it's the ritual now," he replied, nodding. Leaning forward, he said, "Well, first, your intentionality and passion are wonderful. The way you keep pushing, taking small but steady steps to make your dream come to life. That's what I admire in you. It's paying off, you know. Your momentum is strong, so keep pushing." But he paused dramatically, raising an eyebrow as MiGi playfully nudged him. "Go on, what's the but?" she asked, a glint of mischief in her eye. He took a sip from his beer glass. "Well," he continued, "while you were up there on stage, you didn't maintain consistent eye contact with the audience. At one point, I thought you were avoiding my adoring gaze," he joked. "You were great with one side of the hall, but whenever you glanced towards where I was seated, you quickly turned away." They both chuckled at his light-hearted tease. MiGi shook her head. "You noticed that, huh? I don't know why it happened. I thought I had my audience engagement techniques in order. I mean, I practiced countless times with the trees." Her husband blinked, slightly confused. "Wait, what? Practice with the trees?" MiGi giggled. "Yes, I didn't tell you, but I've been going to the woods every day for practice. I imagined the trees as my audience, and when they swayed in the wind, I thought it was their applause." Her husband leaned back, amused. "You're serious?" "Absolutely. Some days I felt like I wasn't connecting, but on other days, oh, the trees swayed as if they were moved by my performance." He laughed, shaking his head in disbelief. "That explains a lot. You see, trees don't respond like humans. Practicing with them might have kept you in this poetic, dreamlike realm, but an audience, a real one, is alive. They respond actively, emotions in their eyes, subtle movements, and reactions to your every word. You must engage with those cues, make eye contact, use body language. You've got to transition from the static world of trees into the vibrant, dynamic realm of people. That's where the disconnect happened. where you missed even the way people shifted in their seats. These things add vibrancy to your message. MiGi's eyes widened with realization. I hadn't thought of that. You're right. Trees don't demand the same presence as a living, breathing audience. She reached out across the table for his hand, squeezing it softly. That's why I treasure these assessments from you. You see things I don't, and it helps me improve. Together, we fine-tune the magic. Always my pleasure, he said, returning the squeeze and smiling back. Just keep that in mind for the rest of your book tour. You're going to need that engagement. Oh, speaking of the tour, MiGi leaned forward, a sparkle in her eyes. You won't believe this. One of the event organizers told me all 5 cartons of books we brought sold out. Her husband's eyes widened with excitement. What? That's incredible. Congratulations on your maiden book selling out. Looks like you're becoming quite the sought-after author. They laughed, reveling in the thought. MiGi sighed, taking a moment to let it all sink in. But that means more work, especially catering to different audiences, you know. I want my messages to resonate with various age groups. I don't want to just write for the sake of writing. I want my words to impact. Today was a crowd of literary enthusiasts, but at the Christian University next week, I'll be faced with a mix of students and professors. I'll need to adapt. Her husband nodded. Exactly. That's more of an academic audience. Same message, different delivery. You're up to the task, my lady. With your guidance and a good dose of divine wisdom, I'll be ready, MiGi said with a smile. He raised his glass, locking eyes with her, inviting her for a toast. Here's to growth, becoming everything you're meant to be, to seeing all the treasure within you being poured out to the world. MiGi lifted her glass, her heart swelling with gratitude and determination. To becoming, she echoed. Their glasses clinked as they sipped. MiGi glanced over the cityscape, a soft breeze tousling her hair. They savored the moment, letting the night settle around them, knowing that the journey ahead, while demanding, was theirs to conquer. She felt certain that she too was growing, branching out like those trees she once performed before, planting seeds that would one day bloom in the lives of others.